Hello everyone, welcome to the video, and today's lesson is a special lesson. It's an introduction to dependent clauses. First of all, what is clause? A clause is a group of words that contains a subject and a verb that have a relationship. This relationship is crucial. A clause conveys information about what that subject is or is doing, rather than simply being a random grouping of words. Because a clause expresses an action or a state of being, a clause can often, but not always, function as an independent sentence. A sentence can have just one clause, or it can have multiple clauses. The only defining characteristic of a clause is that it must contain a related subject and verb. Clauses play a variety of roles in English, and because of this, there are numerous ways to structure and combine them. There are many types of clauses. There are independent clause and dependent clause. Now, before I begin, I wanted you to understand I'm only going to look at the functions of the dependent clauses. Today, I'm not gonna look at how they're built, how to structure them, the conjunction of the use, the relative pronouns they use, only about the functions, because it's very important that you are able to recognize the different types of dependent clauses once you recognize the function of a clause. You know how it's built, you know what it's doing in a sentence, you can understand the sentence better, you can write better sentences. Before that, I'm gonna introduce myself. My name is Fidelis Callisto. I am from Pontianak. Right now, I'm studying at Widyadharma University, Faculty of Information Technology, Information Systems Study Program. Let's go to the main topics. So, dependent clauses. What are they? First of all, they're also called subordinate clauses. You might see subordinate, you might see dependent. They're very different from the independent clause. The independent clause is a clause that can stand by itself and has a complete meaning. It doesn't have need any other information. A clause is a collection of words that must include an subject and a verb. We have basically four types. Technically, we think of three, but there's one extra that we're gonna look at today. We have noun clauses, we have adjective clauses, we have adverb clauses, and we have something called that clause, which is really none of these three. It's closest to the noun clause, but it doesn't function like a noun clause. Okay, we're gonna start with the noun clause. What is a noun clause? First of all, a noun clause has a specific function in a sentence. It is used just like it's called. It's used like a noun. You think of a noun clause as you would a noun, except that it's a clause. It's a subject. There's a verb. There's other pieces to it. We can use it as a subject of the sentence. We can use it as a subject of an otherwise independent clause. The first sentence, what do you do in your free time is your business. So, let's first of all look at all the verbs. Here we have do and we have is. We have two verbs. The subject for do is you. Okay, what is the subject for is? Well, if we look around, it's not time, it's not your, and it's not you, because you are already being used to the whole thing. What do you do in your free time? This is the subject, this is the verb, this is the subject complement. Okay, now very rarely do people actually use noun clauses as subject, especially write what they might say is it is your business what you do in your free time. Okay, we call this a preparatory. It means we prepare you for the subject that's going to come later. Why do we do this? Why do we do this? Because it's a bit awkward to do it like this. It's more convenient to begin with it. Get to the verb and get to the whatever comes after the verb and put the subject later because it's long. Okay, what you do in your free times, subject is verb. Now we can use it as a subject complement. A subject complement looks like an object, but it is not. It comes after a be verb, and it's complete the meaning of the subject. The second sentence is Tom is in what you call friendly. So Tom, what do we know about Tom? Tom isn't. Is in what? He is in what you would call friend. This is the noun clause. There's the subject, there's the verb. These, by the way, these are just called the pronouns or the conjunctions, whatever you want to call them. They begin the clause. Now, as we know from other lessons, it works like an equal sign. Tom, not really friendly. That's basically what this sentence means. This is the subject complement to Tom's noun clause. Notice that the conjunction what can only be used in a noun clause, not in an adjective clause, not in an adverb clause. Okay, we can also use the noun clause as the subject of the sentence. Next, she said she was sorry. So, what do we have here? We have the subject, we have the verb. She said what? What did she say? That she was sorry. Subject, verb. Okay, I put that in subject, verb. Okay, I put that in brackets because that is a conjunction that we can often take out. You have the subject here. We don't need this. This is only used to introduce the noun clause. We can take it out. We can leave it in. It's up to you. Some sentences it is necessary to keep that in. The sentence, if it's not clear without it, put it in. If it's very clear without that, you can take it out. So she said what? Object to say. We can also use noun clauses as objects of prepositions. I don't worry about what others think. I don't worry. It's a complete sentence. This is an independent clause. I don't actually need any more. but I want I want to tell you specifically what I don't worry about. So I use the preposition about and now what others think. Again, you have the conjunction, you have your subject, you have your verb. This whole thing is now the object of about. About what? About what others think. The whole thing, this whole thing about what others think, this whole thing is a complement to the sentence. Now we can also have an object of a verb that is not the main verb. Next, I really want to believe that tomorrow will be better. I really want to believe. This is a complete sentence. Have your subject, verb, and object. I don't need anything else. But I want to add some more information. I want to add a complement so that tomorrow will be better. I have my subject, I have my verb. This whole thing is a noun clause acting as the object to believe. But believe is not the main verb of the sentence. It is just it is part of the object, the infinitive object, and I have, but it's a transitive verb, means it can take an object. So I give it in so I give it in an object. This object now acts like as a complement to the word, to the verb believe. So here is basically the noun clauses that you will find in your readings. The noun clauses that you should use in your writing, and we're gonna move now to the adjective clauses. Okay, so now we're gonna look at the adjective clauses or the relative clauses. Just like the nouns, the adjective clauses work as adjectives. They are they are modifying a noun, usually one that comes before it. We're going to look at three types. It's not really three types, there's only two types, but one of them is a little bit different. So we look at this separately. You have identifying adjective clauses, in which case you do not use commas. What does identifying mean? It means that you're pointing to this noun and you're telling me what it is or who it is or where it is. It has to be specific because otherwise I don't know. The noun is too general. You need to identify it. So there's no commas. On the other hand, we have a non-identifying. If you give me a noun and I know what the noun is, maybe it's a name. Maybe you've already mentioned it. So I already know who, what, where this noun is. So now anything that you tell me about it is extra information. You're still modifying the same thing, but you're giving me extra. In this case, you're going to use commas before and after the adjective. If the adjective clause ends the sentence, then of course there's a period, not a second comma. And we have situation adjective clauses. Now technically, they're, they work the same, except they're not modifying a noun. They are modifying an entire phrase or clause that came before it. We're gonna look at example. Number one, the girl who sold me the car said it was hers. Now, if you ask who is this girl, I don't know. Lots of girls out there. So, you need to tell me specifically which girl we are talking. So that's why we have show me the car. This is an adjective clause. We have the subject. So in adjective clauses, this can also be the subject and the verb. Okay, it is telling you something about the girl. It is telling you specifically which girl you're talking about. So now I know in the next sentence, when you say the girl, if you're still talking about the same girl in the same situation in the next sentence, you don't need to give me an identifying clause. In the next sentence, if you want to give me more information about her, then you're giving me a non-identifying because you've identified her. Next sentence, I know who she is. It's all extra information. Okay, just a little bit of a refresher. Say is a verb. What is this? It's a little bit of review. It's a noun clause, of course. It's an object to say. We took the that out. Let's look at the noun non-identifying clause. My high school English teacher, who is retired and now lives in Florida, sent me a postcard. My high school my high school English teacher. Now we're talking about my high school. So I went to one high school and we're talking about one specific class and therefore one specific teacher. So she's already been identified. My high school English teacher. That's a very specific person. So I don't need to identify her anymore. I've already identified her. So now I'm going to give you some information, but it's all extra. If I take this clause out, it, it actually starts here. This is the adjective clause. And if I take it out, my sentence is still okay. My high school English teacher sent me a postcard. No problem. Good sentence. Complete idea. I know who she is. I know what she did. No problem. So this is extra. And so I put it between commas. Okay, who is retired? So again, I have my subject, I have my verb, and who now lives in Florida. Because of the N, I don't need to say this again. This just carries over to here. Who is retired and who now lives in Florida send me a postcard. Between commas, just extra information. Okay? But it is still telling you something about my English teacher. It is still giving you information about the noun that came before it. Just like this one tells you something about the noun that come that came before it. Now, although it's not very common, you could have an adjective clause that doesn't modify the noun right before it. Next, I bought myself a motorcycle for my birthday, which made my wife crazy. I bought myself a motorcycle for my birthday. This is an independent clause. It is fine. You don't need any more information. I could put a I could put a period here and be finished with this sentence. But I want to give you some more information. I want to give you my wife's reaction. Okay, which made my wife crazy. Now you're thinking, which are we talking about? Is it about your birthday? My birthday made her crazy. That doesn't make sense. She's my wife. She loves me. She loves my birthday. She wants to buy me a cake. She wants to make me a cake. But that's not what made her crazy. What made her crazy is that I bought myself a motorcycle. This situation, that's why I called it a situational clause. This situation is what I am describing. The situation made my wife crazy. So we don't modify the last noun. We actually modify the whole situation and we use a comma. We end the sentence with it. So we use a period. If it was in the middle of the sentence, of course, comma, and continue the sentence. So there you have three adjective clauses. And again, just like with the noun clause, sometimes you can take out the relative pronoun. In this case, you can't because it is also the subject. The only thing I will mention right away today, we use that with identifying adjective clauses. So, if you're identifying a thing, use that if you're modifying something. If you're describing a noun, it's a thing. It's a thing. But it's non-identifying, use which. That no comma, which with comma. Okay, identifying and non-identifying. In case you're wondering what's the difference between that and which. Now some teachers will tell you they're both the same. You can use either one. You can if you're going to write an IELTS test, a TOEFL test, and SAT test, at GRE, GMAT test. Not okay. Identifying, non-identifying is the correct distinction between these two. The next, we are gonna look at the adverb clauses. Okay, so now we're going to look at adverb clauses. And just like the noun clauses and adjective clauses, what is an adverb clause? What does it do, or how does it work? It works like an adverb. It works like an adverb, and what does it do? It shows our relationship. Now, what is the relationship between? It's very important to remember that in a dependent clause, it's always joined to an independent clause or to other dependent clauses. It never stands by itself, right? So an adverb clause has a relationship with whatever clause it is attached to. Usually, the independent clause. What kind of relationship? Well, here are some examples. There's a contrast, there's condition, there's reason, there's time. Okay, there are others as well, but we're just gonna look at a few just to get an example of the types of relationship you might have. So adverb clauses, of course, have their own conjunction. They're not what, they're not what, they're not that. We don't use what, we don't use that. We could use although, if, because, when. Remember, contrast, condition, reason, and time. So, we can use all of three conjunctions to show all kinds of relationship. The first sentence. Although he practiced every day, he didn't win. Although he practiced every day. Here's your adverb clause. He didn't win. Here's your independence clause. This is the sentence. He didn't win. But the contrast though, although he practiced every day. So what's the relationship of contrast means? It means opposite opposite ideas or opposite expectation. You think he practiced every day, he should be good, he should be very good, he should win the contest, but he didn't win. So this is like but, although it creates an independent clause. If you help me pass this test, I'll buy you a lunch. On what condition will I buy lunch? On the condition that you help me pass this test. So if you help me, I will buy. Okay, sorry. So if you help me, I will buy you a lunch. Okay, I lend her my notes. Why? Because she missed too many classes. So I'm showing you the reason that I lent her my notes. Independent clause, adverb clause, showing reason. Now this sentence I made a little bit more complicated. I put in a few dependent clauses. Plus, you remember at the beginning I said there's a fourth type. That clause we're gonna see that now too. When my mother, who was only 18 when she had me, told me I should wait until I got older to marry Lucy, I knew she was really happy. I met the right person. Wow, that's a very complex sentence you're thinking of, right? Too many things going on. Well, not so complicated when my mother told me. She told me, yeah, when my mother told me that your first adverb clause. Here we have a comma and a comma. Here we have an adjective clause. Here we have an adverb clause. Adjective clause telling me something about my mother, but comma is telling me it's not identified. I only have one mother. She's already been identified. She's my mother, not your mother, not his mother, not her mother. My mother is only one. So this is non-identifying adjective clause. When my mother told me what? I should wait. Noun clause. Object to told me I should wait until I got older. Until when I should wait. Until when I should I wait. Here we have another adverb clause with time, where this relationship of this clause is to this clause. I should wait until a specific time. This is a noun clause. To marry Lucy. This is just a compliment. I knew she was really happy. What's the relationship? There's no conjunctions. There is a complete idea by itself. The sentence can stand by itself. This is your independent clause. Now, remember that clause I told you about? So technically, there is a that here, but I took it out because I don't need it. I have a subject. Remember that we generally use that just to introduce a clause. It doesn't have any particular function other than to introduce the clause. So I met the right person. Now, is this modifying? Happy or she or anything? No. So it's not an adjective clause. There's no relationship of any kind. So it's not an adverb clause. There's no noun. There's no situation. So it's not a noun. So it's not a noun clause. Basically, this is called a complement. It is just completing the idea. It is that clause. It doesn't really have type of non-adjective adverb. It's not that tree, but it just gives you a little bit of extra information to complete the idea. She was really she was really happy that I met somebody. This completes the idea of basically happiness. So there you go. Add the clause, adjective clause, noun clause, adverb clause, independent clause, and of that clause, all in one sentence. Now, why did we learn all this stuff today? Why did we have this introduction to dependent clauses? So that when you see a sentence like this and it looks very complicated to you, understand that all you have to do is pick out all the different clauses, find out what is their function, what are they doing in the sentence. If you understand what they are doing, what they are modifying, what they are explaining, what relationship they are showing, then you know what the sentence means. When you know the independent clause, that's your main idea. I knew she was really happy. This is the main idea. This is the most important piece of information. All this other stuff just gives you more information. It just modifies the main idea. Now the function, now the type of clause, now how everything is working. But for now, make sure you know what you're looking at, identify it, and work from here and work from there. Now, if you want to practice this a little bit, if you want to come and look at the sentences and identify the clauses, I have a website. Go to infit.com. There's a quiz there, so you can practice. You can ask them questions in the comment section, and that's it. It's all good. So that's it for my video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching until the end. I hope you can understand what I explained to you about dependent clause. So thank you for watching, and like and subscribe as always, and see you in the next video. Bye.